right, welcome in. Welcome into the live, guys. Today, we are going to cover something very important. Another lesson, yet again, on pricing. How do we charge the right amount for our offer? I gave you guys the walkthrough today. I'm going to get us going, by the way, on YouTube. I'm streaming us right now, so apologize for taking a second there. I'm going to getting things shared here on YouTube and Instagram. We got quite a few different live streams here, so give me a second to get oriented. Give me about like 30 seconds. I'm just still sharing my screen here. We got that figured out. I think Instagram's got like a pretty big delay on it right now, so it's everything I do on Instagram is like delayed probably a good few minutes. How does this look? Can you see everything on there? I'm gonna move Instagram over slightly. I think you can see that, right? That should be pretty good. Okay, everybody on Instagram, hopefully you can see that. We're kind of vibing out right now. All right. So everyone that's on, I did actually just go live on Instagram, so probably won't have that many people in there. I've never really streamed on Instagram, but we're live on YouTube, we're live on WAP, we're live on Restream if you guys watch directly on Restream. But today, we're gonna cover a few important things. How do we charge the right price for what we do? How do we even like set that up as something people can buy? And how do we know how much to value our service at to start? Our offer, our coaching product, whatever you guys want to sell into the world. I'm gonna give you a few lessons, experience here in the world, and my degree that has clearly taught me how to do this for people for a living. So first thing I'm gonna do is we're gonna talk about the training email I sent out today. And I have an actual lesson on this that we're gonna spend our time walking through, but for now, this is what we're gonna start with. I'm gonna walk through kind of what I wrote out today. Again, if you are in the community, if you go to the link in my bio and click on the video, it'll probably, if you're on Instagram, it'll take you right to the video. If you're on YouTube, just go ahead and click the link in the description of any of my videos, and it'll take you to our free community. We have all the trainings and stuff in here. These emails get sent out every day, and you can read this on the toilet, in the shower, hopefully not in the car while you're driving, in whatever. When you have a few minutes, this is the best way to stay up to date and learn something in an environment that is fast paced and probably while you're still working a full-time job, right? So I did set it up in a way where it's free to get the education. You guys can get everything you need to without having to be stressed. I'm gonna make this a little bit smaller because Instagram's still having a little hard time seeing this. All right, so let's get started. And we'll breeze through this. So basically the agenda is we'll breeze through this and then we'll finish the actual lesson stuff and then we'll call it a day, right? So how do we price things? We're going to start kind of go off the script and I'm going to talk a little bit more on it. Price isn't just a number. It's a statement. You're telling the world how valuable your service is, what you think the value should be. And then the world's either going to accept that or it's going to reject that based on obviously supply and demand. It shapes how people see you and but before they ever get on the call with you, before they ever engage with your service, most importantly, it decides whether they say yes. Here's what I want to be very clear. I wish I could draw on here. Maybe I can draw on Restream. But essentially, price is equal to value, but it also means that value is equal to price. Pricing can determine the value to the world, aka it tells people how valuable you are, but also the value. A lot of people think the value determines the price, but we want to transition it to say our price is our value. So we are in control of what we charge. Think of a company like Apple, right? The iPhone costs like $200 to make, but they're charging $1,100 for it because they set the value of their own services because they know people want Apple stuff. So when we get started, we have to price it on, we have to value it. We're going to have people value it based on the price, but eventually we want the price to kind of state the value for us. And that comes when you have a brand built, when you have reputation, when people want your actual service. Okay. So you have to start by kind of being at the mercy of the markets because obviously you don't have the influence yet. But then when people know you, when people want what you have, essentially when they want what you're selling, then you can go ahead and charge what makes sense. Here's what most people miss. Your price doesn't have to be low enough to feel safe. It has to be positioned well enough to feel worth it. I'm gonna read that one more time. Your price doesn't have to be low enough to feel safe, right? To like undershoot it to hope people buy from it. That's actually the worst thing you can do. It has to be positioned well enough to feel worth it. Are you putting it in front of the right people? Are they the people that actually care about this service? Are you structuring like what you're selling in a way that actually is valuable to the market? Or are you just giving out a free ebook that nobody's going to spend their time reading? Let's break down the actual psychology behind pricing, behind real studies, and how to use it as a coach or agency owner to increase your perceived value and your conversions. All right. So the first thing we're going to talk about is the perceived value. Before we even get into this, there's a study. I'm gonna actually like cover this up. I don't want you guys to even read ahead. Think about when you go to the grocery store. Let's say you're hungry, it's 8 p.m. You want some ice cream. You want a quart of ice cream. In your head, I don't know, you're thinking like, okay, well, it should be like probably $5, $6 for that, right? For some nice quality stuff. Maybe like Blue Bunny ice cream or whatever it's gonna be. As you go to the store, you have like, you're expecting to spend $6. You get to the store and the ice cream is actually $4.86. Well, I was planning on spending 6. So that to me, that sounds like a great deal. But in reality, they know that most people think ice cream costs this. So if they can beat that price that you're expecting to pay, then you're not going to think twice about it. But let's say you go to the store and you're expecting to spend $6 on ice cream and it's actually $7.20. Then you have to think about the decision. Is that $1.20 actually worth it to me? Do I actually value spending that to still get what I want? And you don't think you do this math, but I guarantee you guys, I guarantee you, it's just happening subconsciously. You don't realize it. Maybe some of the thoughts you might have that disguise this are just like, ooh, do I want this brand? It seemed kind of expensive. Do I really want ice cream? Like you'll kind of ask other questions to determine, is that value worth it? But in the back of your subconscious, that's what's going on. It's actually running the numbers and doing that calculation. Whether or not you say, you know what, I'm just going to buy it anyway, there's still part of you that's going to process that extra difference in price. And we want to make sure that some people who do it more consciously can make the decision, and we're doing it in a strategic way. So how do we change the perceived value to match the actual cost, right? Like, let me give you an example. Ben and Jerry's versus maybe Blue Bunny is going to have a more prestigious feel. They have higher quality ingredients, or at least that's the perception they give out. And so people expect it to cost more. So they're not upset when Ben and Jerry's cost more than Blue Bunny. Okay, I'm just coming up with this example here, but I want you guys to understand kind of what I'm saying right here. Sniper, welcome to the chat. Hopefully you're loving this stream. Mason, what's up? 219, Nick's Sanastos, welcome in. Everybody that's watching right now, just calling some people out. All right, so the next thing we want to talk about is the actual research behind it. So according to a Stanford behavioral study in economics, people don't make decisions based on objective price. They choose based on what the price represents. So kind of what I just said. $2,000 for a transformation that changes their life. It's hard to put a value on that, right? So they pick something that's a bigger life change, and therefore it makes sense to charge a high ticket price. Fair, right? I wouldn't think about that twice. $200 for something that feels generic, uncertain, and unstructured. It's a little bit too expensive, right? Because there's other options. People think, well, if it's a high price tag, but it's not like that one thing that stands out. It's not, I'll give you an example. It's not the iPhone, it's an Android or Samsung weird, Galaxy crap. I don't like Samsung. I'm just gonna lie. If you have a Samsung, that's fine. But maybe, maybe it's like the Google Pixel phone, right? Like not a lot of people own those. I don't really know much about them, but people want the clean cut, the ecosystem of Apple. It feels really slick and nice. And so, when it's something other than Apple, then they really look at the price and they say, well, these other features aren't really what I wanted, so now I'm going to get more technical on it. Does that make sense to you guys, right? It's not like about, like they'll look for the main brand they want, and if that's not available, then they'll start to look at price. But they're looking for that feeling, right? Is this the thing I want? And then if it's not that, then price really starts to come up. Or if they don't know about you, right? This is the other side of things, which is going to apply here. If they don't know about your service yet, they're going to look at price a lot more. When they do, when they've heard your name, when Caleb Schulke is already a brand, which is starting to grow, and like I just showed you guys, we hit 175,000 views on YouTube here on the last 3 months. So I just got emailed about it. But when that brand starts to grow, people want your stuff more and more. And eventually, this same live stream I'm doing here is going to have probably 10,000 people in it, but at the rate we're growing here. So I want you guys to understand that the amount you're growing your personal name and your status will be linked to that price too. And so you want them to know you before they know what your service is. Too expensive for that crap though, that you are looking to compare secondarily that you don't know much about. So what that means is your price must reflect the transformation and not just the time. Okay, so not just the time you're spending on coaching someone, the time you're spending to give them the result. Because again, we're talking about this like a service, right? Let's say you could be a massage therapist, right? And if you're promising that they're gonna have back pain relief and help live their life healthier, and not have to deal with pain walking up and down the stairs or holding their newborn kids or whatever from all the back, strength endurance training they've had earlier in their life. They want that transformation. And so don't just sell like 60 minutes of your massage skills, right? Sell the actual pain relief and the life change that they're going to get out of it. And then you can put the high ticket price on it. All right. So again, that comes from Stanford Behavioral Economics study. So it's not just me, it's them backing this as well. Number two, we want to charm pricing, right? And it's not just a trick, it's proven. And what do we mean by charm pricing? Okay, it comes from the University of Chicago study. I've actually used this term probably 2 or 3 times before, but I kind of call it other things. But let's describe what it is first. So the Chicago study found that prices ending in 7 or 9, and so like 997 instead of $1,000 convert better, even when the product is identical. A lot of times, another term you'll hear is psychological pricing or pricing psychology is usually linked to like these numbers, right? That's why you see on the infomercials it costs 697, or some people will just say the dollar amount. They won't even use cents. Usually, it's a more luxury item because they don't want to mess with grimy, dirty cents if they're selling like handbags or something like that, or watches, right? It'll be a clean cut number to signify high value. But it's called charm pricing, and it works because it makes the price feel more precise, tested, and intentional. Rounded numbers feel corporate, but specific numbers feel personal. I'm not just gonna give you the numbers here. We're gonna talk about how to implement it. I would say for a service, the best numbers I've seen good are ending it in a 0 or a 5. The sevens are great, but it's more like it feels. I mean, you can use a 7 if you want, but it feels a little bit like salesy nowadays. Like it's like something you'd see in an infomercial. Like think about like this costs $97 for this like free cook, or with this cookbook that includes like a meal prep, ebook or something like that, right? You're used to seeing it on like a bunch of digital products. So I think fives and zeros. I really like 995. That's a really good price, or 495 if you're charging for a service. Because it feels very clean cut, but it's not just like that number, right? We're gonna put 10,000 bucks. Think about it like this. I know I'm kind of yapping on this point, but if somebody told you the price of our service is $10,000, part of your mind is going to be like, well, I guarantee if you added up all the costs, it's probably very unlikely that it actually totaled something close to almost $10,000 on the spot. So there's a good chance that it wasn't $10,000 is what it's going to cost you. Probably costing way less. So you're probably just saying, well, let's just charge up to 10,000. So they know there's kind of a buffer in there. The likelihood of it actually costing just about $10,000 to run the service is going to seem very improbable for most people. But if you pick 867 or 865, they're like, well, they actually might have added it up, and there's a greater chance that that's closer to the real cost, because people don't usually think about the number 865 versus 1,000, right? So 1,000 feels like you're just kind of putting a blanket sum on there to try to give yourself as much profit as possible. But 865 feels like it's kind of more calculated and a little bit less negotiable. Does that make sense? Drop something in the chat, guys, on whatever platform you're in, if that makes sense to you. Thank you guys for everyone joining the community so far. We got about 5 people join in the actual community side. So if you're on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, whatever in the community already, just drop your comments too. I'm trying to pull them up as we go, and I'll try to answer any questions as we keep working through the training here. Again, I also apologize because we have an air show going on here. I still am in the military, in the Air Force, so we have like fighter jets cruising above my apartments right now, because I live right by the base, and it's insanely loud. Number 3, anchoring. You guys have definitely heard of this, right? I hope. Let's say you go, okay, I'll just read through the text. Show a $5,000 package before you show your $2,000 one. Suddenly the 2,001 feels affordable. The thing you'll see this with a lot is auto stuff, right? So they'll what they do on purpose is they don't show you that. Like in the storeroom, right? In the showroom of the dealership, they're gonna have the highest end model, like with all the advanced features, the bells and whistles and upgrades. And then it'll be like maybe 45,000 for that car. And then when you get your actual model, it might not have all the bells and whistles, and cost maybe 38,000. And to you, it's gonna seem like a good deal for the same car, but in reality, it's not really the same car. Or they do it backwards and they'll bait and switch you and they'll show you the $38,000 one. And then when you add in all the features, because the one in the showroom, they never said that that was the one with all the bells and whistles. That one's actually going to be 45. And so at that point, you already like the car, and so you're gonna do it too. But anchoring really kind of sets the value. So what I would do and how this looks is if you're in a sales call, right? Humans are hardwired to compare. They need a reference point to feel confident. Use it to your advantage. So when you're walking through your slides, when you're trying to pitch something, I've actually done this. I started implementing this in a little bit different way with my agency. I'll talk about later, but it's starting to work really well. Let's say, and this is, I'm just gonna make up a number because my agency is priced differently for each client, because whether they require full-term marketing, maybe they require a virtual assistant that we have to hire and train for them. Maybe they require somebody to manage their DMs. Like each person is gonna be a little bit different. Let's just say we need to charge them $4,000 over the course of, like, I don't know, 3 months, right? So that's pretty, I would say, cheap to do advanced level services like that. I'm going to show them another agency that maybe I'm going to show them an actual competitor of mine and say, hey, we actually offer the same things as these people, and they charge 8,500 bucks for it. How much do you think it's going to cost? And I'll kind of like ask them, kind of be like, well, it's probably going to be like, I don't know, you're probably going to be competitive, so like 8,000 bucks, I don't know, something like that. And then I like to hit them with that that anchoring point and make it so much different, because there's a shock factor when it's like, well, it's not even 8,000. It's not even 7 or 6 or even 5,000. It's 4,500 bucks. And to them, it's like, dang, well, if I'm getting all of that stuff that these guys that I know do, then that's going to be pretty sweet. So I kind of throw that into my slide deck, and that always works well for me. Mohammed, what's up? Welcome in. So let's talk about number 4 right now. Give me a second. I need to drink some water, but you can kind of read through the first part of this. How do we bundle, right? It's kind of hard when you have a service or agency to bundle services. But a famous behavioral study, you guys may have heard of this one, maybe not. I don't know. Drop in the comments or the chat if you have. But people perceive bundle offers, right? Like, think about Sam's Club, right? Where you get, 20 boxes of mac and cheese for one price. That will seem better than in the store. But even at the same total price is more valuable than single offers. There's this joke, right? Like, you'll see people will joke when they're selling like lemonade, right? One for 25, two for 50, even though there's like no value difference there. It's just like I used to do that when I was selling. I had these little like football fundraiser cards for my football team, and I would sell them and be like, yeah, we got them one for 20 bucks. If you want to buy 3, it's 60. I have 3 right here. And they're like, wait a minute, 3 times 20 is 60. So there's no discount there. Most people expect there to be a discount. But when I say I'm going to give you 3 for 60 and I just start with that and I don't say 1 is 20, then they're like, dang, that's actually, like, with all the coupons on each one, 60 bucks for that is actually pretty good. And they never, a lot of times, will even ask what 1 is. But you can always go backwards, and like, if we wanted to upsell your primary offer, this is the way this works, right? And let's talk about it. You can add in things like a bonus onboarding call to kind of add additional value. This is kind of going to be included anyway. You're going to want to onboard and get to know your clients. DM access, what I do is I actually give out my personal cell phone number to all of the people that work with me, so they can text me. I've had guys text me at like 8:30 at night. One time I was on a date, and this girl thought like I had like some side piece or something like that. But in reality, it was just a client texting me about his meeting the next day. So funny story there. But you also do templates or checklists, right? You can send in a free ebook or guide, and then fast action incentives. So like, this is a quick start guide, so we can get you making money as soon as tomorrow. These feel like free upgrades and make your offer far more compelling. You see people give out these free guides and things like that on Instagram. The reason they're doing that is to get your email address so they can actually sell things to you in the future. Does that make sense? I feel like I always have this weird kind of paranoia that my audio is not sharing, because I've actually had this problem happen so many times. So if you guys can hear me, drop a thumbs up or something, and that'd be wonderful. Instagram is going well so far. We got some people hopping in. YouTube, WAP is still good. So I'll see you guys in the community if you're still joining in here. But let's continue. Number 5, scarcity multiplies desire. When people believe something is limited, the urgency goes up. You need time to think about that. When people believe something is limited, the urgency goes up. Think about COVID, right? Remember the toilet paper thing? Everyone's like, God, I'm running out of toilet paper. All of a sudden, prices went up at Target, Walmart, Costco, Sam's Club, Walgreens, wherever there was toilet. And I remember like people would like rush the shelves and be fighting each other for toilet paper. God, we lived in a weird world for that year or two. But yeah. So when the people believe something is limited, their urgency goes up. I'm gonna be honest, there actually wasn't a shortage of toilet paper. There was just a supply issue. Like the world still had plenty of toilet paper. It just wasn't getting in time to the locations they needed to. So it's just taking longer to get that stuff in. So people, for that reason, had this perception that it was scarce. And I guess in some ways it was because it was going to take them longer before they could restock. So the urgency went up. People were waiting in lines. They were trying to get the toilet paper in. There were videos all over social media about it. You probably remember that. Set caps, use time frames, close doors, and mean it. You all know that, like, right, that one kid whose parents never disciplined him, but they said they were gonna like punish him if he didn't get home by 8 p.m. for his curfew, or he didn't, go pay his, like, thing or bill or whatever, like the same people that never got punished as kids have problems as adults because they don't have the mindset that they need to actually take care of things on time and be prompt to address concerns. So that's why I think it's good to discipline people, first of all, in the right way and do it appropriately. But secondly, like you need to get used to telling people no and shutting the door figuratively and literally. I think this is great in dating too, right? Free dating advice in this chat. But right, if somebody's not doing it for you, they're not giving you the energy you want, then walk away. Then show them that, hey, that's not a problem to me. I'm going to walk away. It's the people that undervalue themselves and still, threaten things, or like will say they're going to do stuff and never actually take action on it, that get walked on and get abused. In relationships, I'll see a lot because they weren't willing to walk away. And so the value, right? Think about relationships. The person that said that they were gonna leave, and then this person continues to abuse them, right? And they still stay around. Do you see that person as being more or less valuable before that happened? Usually a lot less, because they sacrificed their dignity to try to hang on to somebody that was not really gonna listen to what they said anyway. And so versus the person that said that, the person kept behaving that way and they just walked away, right? That person is seen as more valuable. So if we know that works without money, now let's factor money in, because that's actually a better representation. We can measure that a lot easier. So if you say this offer only lasts for five, let's say, weeks, right? I mean, I don't really like that. 5 days. I don't know why I picked five, but maybe a week, right? It lasts for the next 7 days. If they reach out to you on day 8, don't give them the offer. I personally wouldn't, because that's what I said. And if they didn't meet the deadline, then they know that I take everything I do seriously and it's actually going to help me in the long run. I'll say, hey, I can give you full price for this month, but if you want to do 3 months, I'll still give you a discount and we can work on that. But I don't really go back on those things, even though technically there's nothing preventing me from doing that. So I respect myself very high in business, and I think in all areas of life, it'll only really benefit you. You guys need to be very confident in doing that. I've seen this be hard for some people, right? It actually is very linked to your romantic life. Like, do you get walked on in relationships? Well, you probably get walked on in business too. And I've seen like that be a fix, a very personal skill fix that can change a lot of the trajectories of some people's results. All right, so deadlines make decisions happen. Give them 3 days and mean it. That's basically the point of number 5. So this is the action plan, and we're going to get into the actual rest of the lesson. But take 20 minutes and ask these questions. Is whatever you're selling, does your offer sell the transformation, or does it just sell the tasks? Anthony, if you're watching this, we're going to figure this out Saturday for you, all right? If you guys are in the community, if you join for free in the link in my bio, on YouTube, if you go to the description, maybe not this video because I'm just live streaming randomly here, but if you're go to any of my other video descriptions or just in my profile page, you can join the free community here. And on Saturday, we're going to walk through this. And I'm going to answer your guys' questions as you're doing this and setting it up. So I will actually consult you, something you have to pay usually quite a few $100 a month for. And I'm going to do it for free for anybody in this free group, because this is the focus of this week. So basically, are you selling the results of what you're going to get? Or are you too focused on what the guide includes? The guide, nobody gives a shit about the guide. They give a shit about, does the guide actually help you lose weight? So if you're selling the weight loss and not the guide to get the weight loss, that's what people care about. Just say it's going to be delivered in this format, but follow it for 6 weeks and I can guarantee you're going to lose 5 pounds at least. And you can make a very easy to hit guarantee like that, and most people are still going to take it. Am I pricing with precision or fear? Are you pricing this is what I mean by this, right? Are you pricing because you essentially don't think anybody's gonna buy it, so you think, you need to undervalue it, which actually makes it harder to sell because people think it's worthless or not good for anything then, just to try to get something? Or are you pricing it in a way that makes sense with how you want it to be perceived? Even though it takes longer to sell, you're gonna attract a higher quality of clientele. I wanna make sure I'm still trying to make sure on Instagram here it, looks good. Because again, I don't usually stream on IG. So if you guys can see this, that's all I care about. Okay. Next, have I used bonuses, anchoring, or scarcity to position my offer properly? Have you given them some sort of extra value? Package effect, even if it's the same price. 3 months, right? Let's do a 3-month plan. I'm going to give you a 10% discount to get you to commit for longer and actually make sure we receive the results of this program and then tweak it, right? It's all fine tuning. It's all fiddling, looking at data. Go on your Instagram page and look at your professional dashboard after you set up a creator account. It's just in your settings. Go do that for free to get the data. Go look at your WAP community if that's where you're hosting, just like we are. See how many people joined this month. See how many page visits you got. See how many people abandoned checkout and see if it's better or worse than when you had the offer previously and tweak it. I would recommend, guys, when you're getting started, you can change it once a month, but no more than that. And then if you've already been doing it for a while, change it once every 3 months. If you're changing your price from $1,000 to 600 to 800, then why would I ever want to pay 800 bucks for it if I know there's a chance it drops to $600 later if you're still testing a bunch of price points? So it should really only go up to show people that they need that does give them some sort of scarcity factor to commit while it's still low. And you shouldn't be doing it so often that people are trying to wait to time your market, essentially like the stock market. And communicate every change you're doing clearly and exactly why your price justifies the following things. So again, at 10 a.m. tomorrow in the coffee hour, Anthony and I are going to break down the price, bring your offer, you don't even have to have you guys don't even have to have a coaching business or an agency. You could be curious. And I will sit down on the coffee hour if you have questions, and I'll talk to you about what your service is. If we have time to get you up here, we might even bring you on stage, and we'll explain kind of a good way to think about getting the best amount of value for that and exactly who you could target and what you could charge for. So it's kind of obviously that's the whole business of consulting. It's customized, it's built for you. So we want to help you with that stuff. Now I'm going to show you guys, I'm going to read through this and we're going to go through the second half of this. This is going to be on Notion. And then from there, we'll call it a day, I think, for this live stream. It should be a lot easier to see on Instagram. Let me, I'm kind of waiting for it to update because there's like a slight delay on Instagram and then we'll get into it, but you guys should be able to see this, right? It's probably like a 40-second delay. I think it's a little bit slow. I think on Restream, I think my mic's coming through, right? I think we're good. For everyone that joined so far, we're taking like a 2-minute break to make sure it's gonna update. Okay, I think we're good actually. Instagram is so delayed right now. It's crazy. All right, part 2. This is gonna be more of a read through. You guys can just follow along with me. Have you ever hesitated when stating your price to someone? It could be on anything, right? It could be maybe you bought someone lunch and you want them to pay you for the tip too of what you had to leave the waitress, and they didn't know that, so you just need to tell them, hey, it's going to cost this, but there's still a little bit of hesitation there because you're asking someone for money even if they owe you. Or maybe you have a service and it's hard to spit that out on the call because you're worried you're going to get rejected. Again, this translates to dating too. I love this comparison because people that get rejected and aren't afraid to talk to people and be confident about what they have to say typically have a greater chance of doing better in sales. It's very simple logic. Or maybe you have that sinking feeling when a potential client says, it's just too expensive. Well, here's the secret. It's almost never about the number itself. It's always about the perceived value behind that number. Makes sense, right? We're capitalizing on what we just taught here. So this is a little bit better way to get this knowledge. Today, I'm going to be in a masterclass in pricing psychology. How do you make every offer feel worth every single penny? Well, first, you have to understand the psychology behind pricing resistance. A Stanford study on behavioral economics found that customers measure value on 3 factors. What we just talked about, these are the specific, actual, measurable things. First, the perceived transformation. How clearly will your service transform their life or their business? Next, the added value. The bonuses, the guarantees, the exclusivity, the bundling effect that we talked about that makes the offer unique from others. Final, and another thing that adds value is your credentials. Do you have a degree? Are you a certified fitness trainer? Have you had 6 years in stock market trading expertise? Have you been in 20 relationships and have a shit ton of dating experience to make you a qualified dating coach? Do you have have you played in an orchestra that makes you a great violin instructor? Emotional connection. They must feel emotionally connected to the outcomes your services promise. In other words, people don't buy features or hours of your time. Even if you price it that way, that's not what they're buying. They buy the skill transfer, right? The promise of becoming a better, richer, happier, more confident version of themselves. I love this. I'm going to emphasize that. So if your pricing conversation isn't focused on transformation or emotional impact, you'll always struggle with objections. Objections exist. I used to say they don't exist, so that way I could like kind of figure out what the actual issue was. And I think that's a good mindset, but objections are going to come up, whatever you call them, maybe disgruntlement or whatever, if you're not actually focused on the results of this. If you have to continuously remind them why they're doing this. Okay, so let's talk about buyer logic patterns. You notice how everyone seems skeptical when you present your price? Well, they're silently thinking, is it worth it? Can I trust you? What if I regret paying for this? When you understand these thought patterns, you can preemptively overcome them. I mean, obviously, this gets easier with experience because you've handled the same objections. I go in and I ask for them. I say, hey, I understand that we're walking through the jungle. We're gonna have to cut through some weeds, and what those weeds are gonna be your second thoughts. It's hard to get anybody to commit, right? We know this value is good for you. I know you can agree to that. You already said that early on the call. So let's figure out what your problems are because I know they exist. And let's make sure that we go into this crystal clear. I don't want you second guessing anything. So give me anything that's going to be concerning to you and we'll figure them out together. You see what I did? I turned. I'm literally spinning in my chair right now. I turned my offer sideways and I'm sitting shoulder to shoulder with you and we're looking at the problem face on. We're looking head on together. And I can turn to you on the side and say, what do you think about this? Do you think this is the best way forward to handle this? Versus, okay, tell me what your problems are and I will fight back with like a sword and shield or samurai, fists and ninja slices, right? To try to fight you on this. Instead, we're teaming up and we're taking on the problem as one. Psychologically, guys, because this is kind of the focus of this, I'm creating what's called psychological safety, which is a real concept. Obviously, guys, the belief that one will not be punished or humiliated for speaking up with ideas, questions, concerns, or mistakes. Okay. In teams, let me go back actually. In teams, it refers to team members believing that they can take risks without being shamed by other team members. In the Air Force, what this means is I have a lot of responsibility as an officer in the military. And so when people want to come to me and address concerns with me, then what has to happen is I have to create an environment where they can feel like they can speak confidently and give me honest feedback. Otherwise, I can't take any of the advice they're saying as it is at face value because there's always some sort of like sugar coating to make it seem like, they're not trying to attack me unless I create that safety. And there's 4 factors of that. There's learner safety, which is where it's safe to discover, to ask questions, to experiment, learn from mistakes. There's collaborator safety, where you're in the meeting, right, the conference room, and you say, well, okay, let's make this, let's break down the problems with this. What do you guys are thinking could be issues? And you're asking for their feedback. This makes it engage in an unconstrained way to interact with colleagues. Can I make this bigger? I want you guys to be able to see this a little easier. I don't know if on Instagram, I think what I'll do is I'll drag it off my screen because I think on Instagram, you guys probably can't see that. So I want it to be easy. There we go. I'll open it up. I'm going to shrink it. Actually, that should be pretty good. We'll drag it in the middle of the screen. If you're on Instagram, hopefully you can see that a little bit better. I'm gonna actually end this stream on Instagram because it's really just bugging out. We're gonna just pull this up. Collaborator safety essentially means that like people can engage with you, they can interact with colleagues, they can maintain an open dialogue, and they can foster a constructive debate. Right? Think about Capitol Hill, right? I mean, in some ways it can get pretty ugly in Washington D.C., but for the most part, they know that they can be honest because they're not attacking each other as people. Well, maybe now it's a little bit differently, but historically, you're not attacking another senator, you're attacking their argument. So when you make it about the issue and not you as a person, then it gets a lot easier to team up, right, and actually take down the pros and cons of the debate. But it's only when you start attacking the people that it becomes problematic because you don't necessarily know. You don't necessarily know if somebody likes your idea or if they like you, right? And so we always want to be liked, and we want people to value us for who we are. And when it seems like they're targeting more me than the issue, then it makes us scared to speak up with future issues. The third part is inclusion safety. So it's safe to know that you are valued, treat people fair, all people fairly, feel your experience and ideas matter, include others regardless of their title or position, and openly contribute. So in the military, what this looked like is we'd have days where we would rip our ranks off, right? And we put them on the table. Call that we just call that like taking off the rank essentially. And we just have an open dialogue as people, right? As human beings. So that way, like what you have to say isn't valued less because my rank is higher than you. It means that we're still people. We still have the same thoughts. Your brain and my brain are equals, even though my rank says I have higher rank than you. We're still working together, and I want the team to be effective. And that means that feedback is feedback, and it doesn't matter who it comes from. And then finally, challenger safety. So it's safe to challenge the status quo, to speak up, to express ideas, to identify changes and expose problems. Okay, another concept I'm going to bring in is something called red teaming. If you guys have ever heard of software development, this is a big thing with AI right now. So red teaming is where I pick somebody on my team. And if you guys have like an actual agency infrastructure for coaching, I would recommend that you pick an individual. Say, Anthony, I want you to be the devil's advocate for this. I want you to, the whole time I'm presenting, I want you to be really annoying. Raise your hand whenever there's an issue, speak up on something. And I want your sole focus to be pointing out issues. If you think about, if I ask you right now to identify everything that's red, well, all of a sudden you can see, maybe the little bit of red in this, you can see in my background, there's a red light. You start paying attention. I can see this bottle of Polo cologne here. Everything that's red in my space, I start noticing because I was paying attention to it. When you assign somebody to be devil's advocate and be the challenger, then that creates an environment where you can get better. And second, allows you to be on the lookout and vigilant for those mistakes. So how does that tie into what we were saying? People are always going to be skeptical. And so when you have objections, you need to overcome them, and you need to preemptively overcome them by saying, hey, I'm giving you the safety to speak up. I understand that this is a natural part of the sales process, and there's going to be reasons you don't want to actually participate in this, even though I just went through all the pros of having us on your team and being working on this issue together. So with that said, what issues do you have? Let's take them down together. And I'm going to show you how we can actually address these because we've done it before. And if you haven't done it before, then use this as an opportunity to figure out what they are, or maybe practice with somebody and let them play devil's advocate to figure out what people might say on your sales call. ChatGPT is also good too. You can use the voice mode and practice pitching to it, and it can give you tangible feedback. For instance, provide clear, tangible examples of client successes that remove skepticism before they get to the end of the call, or offer guarantees that eliminate their fear of regret. Those are two big ones, right? They need to know that it's actually worked. They need to know that they're not going to be wasting their money. So those are the best two things I think almost anybody should for sure have in their pitch. But remember, when someone says your offer is too expensive, there's something beneath that. Money wouldn't matter if the problem was important enough to them and they actually thought you could do it. So what they're really saying is, I'm not convinced yet that this is valuable enough. Your job is simply to help them see the value more clearly. Therefore, part 3. Your mannerisms can make or break your price pitch. Believe it or not, the confidence you display while stating your price can drastically influence whether clients say yes or no. I'll give you an example. All right, man. So everything we talked about this far, the 12-week program that's going to get you start to finish, from being a newbie coach to making about 5 to 10 grand a month, depending on how much work you're willing to put in, with the money back guarantee, if we don't hit that, is going to be $2,500 over the course of 3 months. I've sat in silence for about 17 seconds before that. But when I say it like that, I usually don't have to wait that long. Usually, like, yeah, that's good to go, or they'll get straight into their objections. But the other thing, right? Let's say I said it like this. So, if we work together, obviously we understand that it's going to cost quite a bit of money to do this. Well, I just want to be, upfront about everything. It's gonna be an investment for sure. But if we work together and we pool our efforts, there's probably a good chance that we'll see the results here. And if that sounds good to you, the price for all of this is what we have totaled up here is $2,500 for 3 months of service, and that is for everything that we talked about here, guys. I've heard like it said exactly like that. I just like, it sounds like I'm literally shitting my pants while I'm saying that, versus just saying 20 for 3 months, it's gonna be $2,500. And I don't even say, what do you think? I don't even say, I just stop after the price and I let them sit because then it's up to them to speak. And it's going to be a long, awkward pause. But if your tone is unsure or you nervously fidget, right, I'm doing this like I did when I was explaining it, then clients subconsciously, right, that you might not even be a thought they'll bring up, but they will look at you on the camera, and in the back of their mind, they're going to interpret your uncertainty as that you're conning them or that you don't actually believe that it's worth that value. So everything you say on the sales call and everything you do on the camera, not eating pretzels like this, is going to signify some level of value, whether or not you treat your service and yourself as a professional. I a lot of times will, I understand like it's a cool aesthetic in here, but I will turn off this light back here because I think like the lighting effects look a little bit like youthful or cheesy, especially if I'm talking to a more mature client. I like the light, it's good to have it and it keeps the like work environment dialed in, but not on sales calls because it doesn't make me look as mature as I'd like to. So I make sure everything, like even the glasses here, I will wear these even though I don't need glasses to make myself look more educated and professional. I'll have my nice watch on right here. I'll have a clean shirt. It'll be pressed. I'll make sure I have a pump in, right? I look like I take care of myself. I'm talking to a fitness coach. Instead, state your price clearly and then pause confidently. Maintain strong, steady eye contact like I'm doing with you guys right now. And let silence emphasize your confidence, not your words. You guys, I promise sales is one of the best skills in life because if you are dating, right? Everyone is I personally, my personal philosophy is that if as a guy, I believe that, if women didn't, exist, then why would men be working as hard as they would? Or like if the opposite, desired partner for you didn't exist, I think romance and like attraction drives everything. Why would you have all the money in the world if there's nobody to impress with it, if there's nobody to spend it on, if there's nobody to take care of with it or to provide a life for it, if that's your goal? If it's just to have, then I don't think that's a motivating factor long enough. Everyone wants to do it for a significant other, a family member, right? If you apply the same skills that you're learning here to that romantic life or to that personal life, you can get a lot more practice in. So like on dates, right? If you say something and you pause confidently or they ask you a revealing question and you just are upfront and honest and you don't say anything else and you're looking them directly in the eye, then I think you're going to make yourself look a lot better too, more credible as a person, and people are going to respect you a lot more versus being fidgety on a date or like looking around, playing with your hands, stuff like that. It might feel uncomfortable at first and it's going to feel like you're faking it, that you have to like glue your hands to the table or you have to put your hands together and not move them. Like I want to move my hands right now, but it works every single time, guys. It has a drastically, statistically different result. Fourth, create your custom pricing formula. I get this last stuff was kind of on sales and we're gonna have a whole sales unit, but it is very important how you present price. And this is a way you present it is on the call. Fourth, create your custom price formula. So most coaches or agency owners, like we said, guess at their prices, but the top earners follow a simple yet powerful structure. First, you need to determine your baseline hourly or project cost. Never undercharge yourself. Next, quantify the specific value your service creates for the clients. How much time or money will it save or generate? Then set your fare or fee as a fair fraction of this generated value, usually 10 to 20%. Your client wins and so do you. Okay, so let's go through one more time. Determine your hourly, your baseline, and project cost. I'll give you an example. When we started, I was doing about $1,000 a month because I didn't really know what else to start at. And I thought for full-time coaching, that was pretty good. I would even encourage most people just start there. Again, I called it like 965 or something, so it didn't feel like I was just like picking a number. Next, quantify the specific value your service creates for your clients. How much time, money will it save or generate? And then third, set your fee as a fair fraction of this generated value. So let's say, again, if I cost $1,000 a month, but I can get you up to $5,000 a month at the end of 3 months, then paying $1,000 for 3 months or $3,000, you're going to make that back when you make $5,000 your first month. So in 3 months, right, if you're making $15,000, then 20% of that would be $3,000. And that's kind of what you'd pay for that 3 months of service because it'd be 3 months of results for you. You could probably share this method with clients, positioning your pricing as transparent, logical, and mutually beneficial. Fifth, consider offering a 4-week free plus 12-month paid package. Sometimes the best way to show your value is to let clients experience it firsthand. This is what I actually do for my, to kind of expand and get testimonials. I used to do this to start and I still do this, guys. During the first 4 weeks, offer to work for somebody for free for 4 weeks. Deliver massive value to build trust and achieve quick wins. At the end of the 4 weeks, give them 2 clear options. First, they can continue into a 3-month plan that's going to be paid, going to be coaching and or implementation. So either one-on-one coaching or like an agency service where you build out stuff with them and you actually participate, because they don't want to lose the momentum they built with you over the 4 weeks, which is why you're building it up and you're really participating them. They have habits now. Things are changing because they're being held accountable. And you don't even have to change that much, but just the extra accountability from having someone in their life checking in on them is going to get them kicking ass, and they like that. Or if they don't want to do that, ask them for a strong video testimonial that you can use for your marketing. Either way, you win, right? Because you can build your credibility up for the next people to come, and it'll be easier to get people. Or you can get 12-month or 12-week paid commitments. This would actually be weeks. Sorry, I don't know why I was saying one. I usually do 3 months. Sorry, it can be 12 months. It could be like a 3-month free, but 12-month paid. But I would never really draw it out that far. Usually you can do as much coaching as you need within 3 months and see a transformative result, and then continue month to month from there. But lastly, add these quick pricing psychology hacks. These are just a bunch of bonus tips I threw in from what I knew. We already talked about these in some ways, but I'll give you them again. Anchor your higher price service first so your primary offer feels more affordable. Say other people charge 8,500 bucks, but our offer is 4,500, so that feels affordable than just saying $4,500. Use limited time availability or bonuses to create urgency. For the next 5 days, it's going to be 4,500 bucks. Otherwise, it'll go up to 6 grand. This is just something we're doing right now for an Easter special. So if you want to participate, this is going to be how you can get the lowest price guaranteed for the next few months or even year. End prices with a 7 or 9, like a 497 instead of 500 for subconscious appeal. But now I would say I actually like using a 5 at the end, like 865. Always position your price as an investment, not an expense. Think about the ROI, right? We need to transition to the wealth mindset that we talked about in our free course here. How did the rich people think? Well, they ask how much is value is this going to retain for me or generate in the future from after the service. And a lot of times you write it off as a business expense, so you don't really pay that money anyway. You would have to pay it in taxes or pay taxes on it. Whenever you combine the strategies, pricing stops being scary and starts becoming your secret weapon. So if you guys are ready to master it once and for all, Anthony and I are going to put this to work in our coffee hour tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. Central Time inside of the WAP community. If you want to join, the live stream is going to be just like this. We're going to host it inside, and you guys can get all your questions answered. You can just like bring yourself up on the stage, turn your camera on, or just use your voice chat or just in the chat, bring up what you're working on, and we'll talk through deals with you. And I'm going to help Anthony the rest of the time break down his coaching service for gym training, strength training services. We're going to break down that and then give you personalized guidance to confidently charge what you're worth and not get in the cycle of just being cheapest out there, because that's not how we're going to generate value. And we're going to end up being a slave for our time if we just charge the cheapest we can. So that said, I'm going to see you guys tomorrow at 10 a.m. Set your alarm and make sure you're being active in the chat until then. Introduce yourself in the networking group. In the introduction, say what you are, what you do, so other people can DM you or reach out to you if you're in a similar niche as someone else. So don't just say you do coaching. Say you're a fitness coach or a stock coach or a relationships coach or a golf coach, whatever it is, so other people can find you and ask you about your services. That's the goal of the networking group and the free community that I have presented here. Because pricing just got simple, right? And we just broke this down pretty damn well here. This video is going to go on YouTube where you guys can watch it. And we're going to have another live stream later, as well as tomorrow to help you guys out. Our time is your time. We're here for you. I blocked this in. I have calls later today with my clients, but I'm taking this time to really let you guys know what we're working on and build this out in a way where it's going to be effective for you to get started for free. So I'm giving you no reason to have excuses. All you need to do is take this information and think over your own offer and just work on implementing it. And I'll see you back for our next live stream after this. And we'll continue tweaking this stuff to get effective results. Drop a follow if you're viewing this on YouTube or Instagram. If you're in the community, just drop something in the chat, whether or not you got value out of this. And I'll see you guys on the back end. Lesson 3 in the mindset community is dropping next week. I'll see you there for that as well. Or lesson 4, sorry. Lesson 4 in our mindset community is dropping next week. And we will announce that and drop a trailer for that soon. So stay tuned and we'll see you in the next time, the next video, I guess, that we do this. If you're on WAP right now, we're actually in WAP. We're going to stay live streaming for a slight bit. I just ended that recording for YouTube and for Instagram because I want to answer any questions you guys have in here. You are obviously in the community right now. And I want you guys to get as much value as you can out of this. I am hanging out for any questions you guys might have on this, and can get you guys some effective help here. We did actually just shoot up in members doing that, so thank you guys for hopping in and participating. I'm actually